Hey guys, this is Hyatt, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the perfect human diet. And is there such a thing as the perfect human diet? And I can tell you that there definitely is, but before I can even tell you what it is, we're going to go and take a look at human history and our evolution and where we came from to really understand our perfect biological human diet. So, for most people, when they think of the ancient humans, our furthest ancestors, I think most people think back to kind of like a hunter gatherer time where we were probably living in caves and hunting our food to survive. But actually, at our very beginning, when we were first evolving, we came from the jungles, we came from most likely the rainforests in Africa. We were brought up in the forests and jungle, not in some mountain caves and deserts or anything like that. We were evolved in the jungle. And the more you think about this stuff, it's stuff that most people have never really thought about, but once you kind of see and hear about this, you'll realize like, oh wow, this is so obvious. How did I not think of this before? But so, anyways, we were raised in the jungle, and that should be obvious when you look at our closest relatives, the great apes, chimpanzees, and gorillas, and all of them, obviously their natural habitat is the jungle, just like our natural habitat was. And really, to get an idea of our perfect human diet, really we should just take a look at our closest relatives. The chimpanzees, those would be the closest to us, the bonobos. They are as close as it gets to any other species to us. So really, if you just take a look at what they eat, then you'll get a sense of what we're supposed to be eating, which is mainly a diet of raw fruit, some tender, delicate leafy greens, and maybe some herbs. Less than 1% of their diet comes from fleshy foods, and that's mostly insects. And here's something that you gotta understand. When we're talking about the perfect biological diet for any species, we have to look at it in its raw, natural state. So I'm talking about nothing being cooked. Cooking food completely destroys, maybe not completely, but for the most part, 98%, if you cook it very, harshly, it's going to kill nearly all of the living vitamins and minerals and enzymes, and it becomes incredibly hard for your body to digest and really intake any of the nutrients in the food. If it's cooked or processed in any way, then you've just completely defiled your food, and your body has no idea what to do with it now at this point. It has to come from its raw natural state with raw living enzymes and vitamins and minerals that your body can properly utilize. So most people that eat a lot of meat use the argument that our earliest ancestors were meat eaters. They were hunter gatherers. They went out and hunted for their food, and ate mammoths and whatever else. But before we were hunter gatherers, we were scavengers in the jungle and the rainforest. If you look at our biological makeup, it's the closest thing to us are the great apes, where we have very long, lanky arms for climbing and swinging on trees. We're perfect climbers. We have perfect hands for grabbing onto fruit, round fruit. We have perfect arms for reaching up there and climbing up trees and grabbing fruit. And that's when you think about it, and it's probably hard for a lot of people to think about because they've been eating such a poor diet their whole life and they don't really know any other way. It's hard for them to really think about this, but it's the most appealing thing in nature. If you were to go out and live in the forest for a few months, what would be the most appealing thing to you? Uh, if you've got an abundance of fruit trees, say you've got some mango trees and whatever else, some apples, then you've got, a rabbit or a boar or something like that over here. What looks more appealing to you? Are you going to spend your energy and effort trying to run after this creature and then kill it and eat it in its raw natural state? Because that's what, when we're talking about our diet and the perfect natural diet for any creature, it's going to be in the raw natural state. The lion doesn't cook its food. Humans are the only species that cooks its food, and we're not even biologically fit to be chasing after these animals. We don't have long claws and fangs like these other animals do. We don't have long faces to dig into the carcass of a dead body to rip out flesh. We have really flat faces. We don't have claws. We have fingers and small, thin fingernails that are perfect for peeling fruit. Okay, it's just I'll talk more about it, but it just makes so much sense. First of all, we're not very fast as far as these other animals. The only thing that we have as an advantage is our intellect and our tool making and traps, things like that. That's what we have over these other animals. That's how we've had to survive. And the reason we think we're big meat eaters is because after a while of evolving, we moved out of the jungle and we moved into these places like these more cave areas, more desolate, where there's not any forest, and there were no fruit really. Fruit was probably very hard to come by, so we had to eat meat as our only way of survival. Meat is not something that we thrive on, but it's something that we had to gather to survive with, because the only thing that we could find out there in our environment was meat, was other live animals, because we were so far away from our natural environment where there were trees of fruit and other plants that were edible. So meat does not fit our biology. And the biggest argument that a meat eater has is protein, which is probably the most misunderstood aspect of nutrition that there is. Well, where do you get your protein? We need protein. We gotta have protein to have strong, bodies. Well, first of all, we get plenty of protein on a fruit diet. The thing is, when you eat meat for protein, those proteins are already developed, built up proteins that were specifically designed to be utilized by that animal. Okay, the proteins were created for that animal's specific, biological needs. Because, when you eat a plant, some fruit, for example, you don't eat fully built up proteins. You're eating amino acids, which are the building blocks of proteins, and that's what you want. You want the amino acids because those are going to build up your own biologically specific proteins that your body needs. Okay, you can't just take the protein of an animal and consume it and then think that that protein is just going to start working in your body. First of all, the proteins from animals, because they're already built up, pretty much all of that is seen by your body as a foreign protein and as kind of an invader. Okay, your body usually can't use these proteins, and so it all just goes to waste anyways, and it's more hassle for your body. And the proteins that can be used from meat are broken down. Your body has to has to use up extra energy and extra resources to break down these already built up proteins into amino acids, so that way it can rebuild it into proteins that your body can actually use. So the proteins in meat are very poor quality. You barely get to utilize any of the proteins that are actually in the meat. Most of it just goes to waste, and the proteins you do use are, it's very hard for your body. It just puts a lot of extra stress and work on your body to break down those proteins and rebuild them. That's why fruit is perfect, plants are perfect, because it's just got all the amino acids we need that are the building blocks. We want amino acids, not full proteins, not already built up proteins that our bodies can't use. We need the amino acids, and that's how we build up, the best, purest proteins there are. When you look at a meat eater, pretty much all meat eaters are going to have claws, fangs, long faces. They have very short intestines because basically when you eat meat or anything that doesn't digest well in your body, then it's going to start rotting and putrefying, and it's not going to be good. It's going to sit there and rot, and it's going to cause bacteria to build up, and it's never a good thing. So meat eaters have very short intestines where the meat comes out very quickly, where humans have some of the longest intestines there is, and that's because we're supposed to be eating fruits and plants that are supposed to slowly go through the intestine and absorb all the nutrition that it has to offer before excreting it out of ourselves. We have super long intestines, so that way we can absorb all the nutrition possible. But when you're talking about things that aren't supposed to be in our body, then it's just sitting there rotting as it goes through the intestines, building up bad bacteria and putrefying itself, and that's just what happens when you don't eat biologically designed diet for your species. Not only that, but meat eaters have over 10 times their stomach acid is over 10 times more acidic than humans, so that way it's able to actually break down the meat, and most people don't realize how weak our stomach acid really is. When you're taking a bite of meat, and basically for humans, you want to chew your food until it's basically liquid. Otherwise, your stomach acid really doesn't break very much down as far as like big chunks of food. You can't just swallow a big chunk of food and expect your stomach acid to break it down. It's not that powerful. A lot of people think that my stomach acid will just totally liquefy it all. It'll totally just eat all that up, and it'll go down smoothly. But nope, that's not the case. Stomach acid is not very strong. That's why meat eaters have over 10 times more acidity than we do, so that way it's easier to break down things like meat. The other thing is, like I was talking about before, you have to go by what looks good, tastes good, smells good, and its raw, natural state, because that's what we, evolved with. No, it's, when you think about cooking food, I mean, honestly, cooking food is crazy. Why would you ever cook food? It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. No other animal cooks their food. They get by just eating their foods in its raw, natural state. And so a carnivore doesn't want to eat fruit. They're not attracted to fruit. A lion is attracted to a gazelle or whatever else that it can eat. But as a human, we are attracted to very colorful, very sweet things. uh, we're probably attracted more to sugar than any other substance that we can put in our body. We love sugar, and nature designed it that way so that for us to be attracted to fruit. Humans actually have way better color vision than most animals out there, and we evolved to be able to see these different colors, mostly to distinguish different types of fruits. And we can see the ripeness of the fruit on the tree. We can see green from red. Green, we can see that that's unripe, but bright red is one of the most beautiful colors for a human being, and that's usually what a fruit is going to turn, especially tropical fruits on the trees. They usually are going to end up turning a bright red color, and then that we're very attracted to that. So we developed incredible vision to see colors, when a lot of meat eaters mostly just see in black and white. They have good smell. Humans don't have incredible smell or incredible hearing. These meat eaters that need meat and prey on, and have to go after prey, they have great smell and great hearing, so they can sniff out their prey. We don't have that. They're faster than us. Humans are pretty slow compared to most other animals, especially meat eaters, carnivores. We're pretty dang slow. We are excellent at climbing. Okay, we're excellent at climbing trees and picking fruit. So if you were, if you had a big fruit tree in front of you of mangoes, and then you had like I was talking about before, maybe a rabbit or something like that, you would look at the fruit and start like salivating and go, wow, that looks delicious. Sweet, vibrant fruit. You don't look at a rabbit, you don't look at a cow and start salivating and go, oh my god, I'm so hungry now. I just want to run up to that cow and sink my teeth into it and, rip its flesh open and eat it. Oh my god, look at that rabbit hopping around. I just want to go over there and rip it apart and sink my teeth into it. That's not very attractive for a human. That's attractive for a lion and a tiger and these other carnivores. That's what they want to do. For humans, we're attracted to sweet, delicious fruit. We don't look up in a tree and see a monkey eating a banana and go, oh my god, I want to eat that monkey. No, we look at the banana and we say, oh wow, what a cute monkey. Look at that sweet little monkey. Man, I could use a banana. That banana looks delicious. We think, we find animals cute. We look at rabbits and go, aw. It's hopping around, and we don't want to eat that. The only reason we can eat meat is because it's presented, already cut up on a platter, and it's spiced, cooked, it's been seasoned. If you think about eating a raw piece of steak, most people are disgusted by that. And even if you think about eating a cooked piece of steak, most people would not eat just a dry piece of steak that has no seasoning. For, these different steaks and meats to taste good, we have to marinate it and season it and cover it up with different things. We don't just eat it by itself. So that should be an indicator right there that maybe it's not really part of our diet if we don't want to, eat it as it is. With fruit, it's so easy and convenient. You just grab it, you peel it, and sometimes you don't even have to peel it, and then you just sink your teeth into it. No preparation. It's the easiest food in the world to eat for humans, and it's the most delicious. Okay, it is the most delicious, satisfying food there is, and most of you would disagree with that, and it's because your taste buds and your senses have been completely almost like destroyed, adulterated with all these different things. We have so many different stimulants and so many different things that are overstimulating you. And so now your body craves this overstimulation, that craves this chocolate and these coffee and energy drinks and cooked food. Cooked food is a stimulant. So now you're craving this cooked food because it makes you feel good in the moment. You know, it gives you a little hit of happiness, and then afterwards you feel like crap. You know, you eat a big steak and potato dinner, and then you just want to go to sleep, right? You just want to take a nap now because your body is using so much energy. Your body uses like 80% of its energy to digest food when you eat. And when you feed it something like cooked steak and potatoes, which actually go very, very horribly together for your digestive system, it's like one of the worst things when you mix potatoes with meat, and that's like a big American staple, is meat and potatoes for dinner, and it's terrible for your digestion, and it takes hours, like over 24 hours probably to digest something like that, whereas fruit, your body digests it in just a few hours, sometimes as little as an hour, or even less if you're eating really watery fruits like melons. I also just want to say a little bit about milk. You know, people think that milk is a great natural thing for humans to drink. And although, okay, so milk is natural, but first of all, cow milk is not natural for humans. I mean, it doesn't even make any sense. Why would you take milk from another animal and then give it to humans? The makeup of mother's milk is not the same biological makeup of cow's milk. They have different enzymes made for that specific animal. They have different minerals and nutrients that are specifically designed for that animal's, you know, body's ratio of nutrients. So when you're drinking cow's milk, it's not going to give you it's not going to give you a lot of the benefits that your body needs, first of all. Second of all, when we're children, we usually lose the enzyme to process milk. Basically, our body usually loses an enzyme to break down milk at a few years old. You know, around 3 years old, your body loses the ability to fully process even mother's milk. And then, so cow's milk wouldn't be so bad if you got it straight from the cow in its raw natural state, right from the cow when it's still got its living enzymes. But, you know, when you go buy store-bought milk, I mean, that's like a double whammy. It's milk that we're not even designed to drink, and then it's also been pasteurized, it's been cooked, and pretty much unless you get organic milk, you know, you're also getting milk come from cows that have been pumped with steroids and antibiotics and just a bunch of crap that is terrible for you, terrible for the cows. For one, it's super inhumane, but you know, the topic here is more about nutrition, not the humane part of everything. But it's also just terrible for our body. So when you cook something, it's like I said, it's going to kill pretty much everything. Anything you drink that's pasteurized is going to be bad for you. You know, even orange juice. I go to food stores and buy unpasteurized orange juice that are made, you know, like that day in store. That's the only orange juice that I'll drink. So it's just not good. And people are kind of brainwashed into thinking that milk gives them a lot of minerals and calcium. Calcium's the big thing with milk. You know, drink your milk, get strong bones, lots of calcium. Well, first of all, milk doesn't even have that much calcium in it as far as, you know, other sources. I mean, almond milk has probably twice as much calcium. But also another big thing is that when you drink milk, the milk does have calcium, but usually it's dead calcium because it's been pasteurized and it's not even, you know, usable by your body anymore, so your body can't even intake the calcium properly. That's one thing. And then the other thing is that milk is incredibly acidic and probably the most mucus forming substance you can consume. Milk creates so much mucus in your body. You know, runny noses, you feel like you got a bunch of phlegm in your mouth after you drink milk. It's slimy and it creates so much mucus in your body and it makes your body so acidic. And what happens is when your body gets acidic, the pH scale 1 through 14, and our body's supposed to be pretty much perfectly even in between that. So your body's always working to keep that balance. Well, with milk, when you drink it, it heavily acidifies your body, and then your body has to re-alkalinize it to keep the balance. And how it does that is it has to take resources from your body to use to alkalize yourself. And those resources are usually your teeth and your bones. So people think that they're growing strong bones and getting a lot of calcium from milk, but actually the opposite of true is true. And actually, heavy milk drinkers are people that develop osteoporosis the most. All right, which is the corroding of your bones, and it's because your body is taking calcium from your bones to try and alkalinize your body from the milk that you just drank because it's so acidic. So people that drink a lot of milk actually develop more bone and teeth problems than people that don't. So that's what I have to say about milk, and the reason I wanted to bring that up, another reason, is to tell you, you see commercials, you hear about it in magazines, athletes and different things like that about how milk and meat is good for us. It's, there's scientific papers and all this research has been done. You hear about it all the time, and the reason you hear about it all the time is because these are like trillion-dollar industries. Even if they know that this stuff is bad for you, which I'm sure that they do, they're not going to stop. They don't care about your health. They care about their profits. These guys are, industry businesses. They care about maximizing profit, basically at any cost. So and also these guys basically control the media. The big industries, the pharmaceutical companies, they basically own the government. They can control whatever they want because they have all the money and the power, even more so than the government. And so they own the media, and they can put out whatever they want. They can they can put out whatever they want. So we hear about it all the time. It's all over the place that of course this is good for you. The research is done. Of course we're omnivores. It's so obvious that we need meat and milk in our diet, but that's just a huge crazy, it's insane. They just own the media, and they can brainwash people to believe whatever they want. So that's why it hasn't been shut down. They basically have the best lawyers and the best everything to defend against their crappy ways of doing business, using inhumane, tactics for their produce, and just trying to maximize profits at any cost, even though it's killing America. Meat is actually one of the most, if not the most, carcinogenic foods you can consume. Okay, very, very cancerous, and most people don't know that. But if you just do a little bit of your own research, that's why you can't, you really got to shut off the TV and start doing your own research on the internet or through books, and at least comparing. You don't have to believe all this, but at least look at both sides before you make a decision. I mean, a lot of you are probably thinking that this is crazy and totally untrue and there's no way, and calling me an idiot. But if you haven't done the research here to find out exactly what I'm talking about, that's like the definition of ignorance. Don't be ignorant. at least compare both sides before you blindly disagree with me. And some of you may think that, I'm just a animal loving person and I'm just saying a lot of this because I care for animals. But actually, when I first got into this, looking into raw foods, I was reading a book, and the book was talking about raw veganism, and I had done a little bit of studying on like enzymes and things like that before, so I knew about how raw food is going to be much better for you than cooked food, because it has the living enzymes that your body needs. But I didn't really put too much thought into it when I was kind of studying up on enzymes, and then I came across this raw food book, and it was talking about raw veganism, and I was definitely clicking and understanding everything it was talking about raw foods. I didn't think that there were actually people out there that ate 100% raw. I was blown away. I was like, whoa, people are actually doing this. That's amazing. This is, I thought about, this being possible, but I never thought people were doing this. And so I read this book, and basically as I was reading it, I went like raw food overnight. I just said, okay, this makes too much sense. I want to be as healthy as possible. I'm going to just eat raw food from now on, which I'm not currently doing anymore. I was raw for about 6 months, and it's not my top priority right now, and it's very hard to stay focused and eat completely raw if it's not your top priority, at least for me. So I want to get back into it, but at the moment I'm not completely raw. But anyways, I was totally clicking with everything this book was saying, except the fact that I was still brainwashed into thinking that humans are omnivores. And I was like, okay, so raw is cool. I can, I definitely see the value in raw foods, but, raw veganism, I don't know about that. That sounds a little unhealthy. I mean, obviously humans were omnivores and we need meat to be optimally healthy. These people are probably just raw vegans because of, that's just their lifestyle. They're more in touch with animal rights and stuff like that, but I don't need to be vegan. So for the first 2 months of being raw, I actually ate a lot of raw meat, and for a while I ate it. For the first few weeks I was eating it because I was craving meat, and I thought that I needed to eat a lot of meat, and because that's just what I've been told. That's what most people think. Obviously, you need meat, you need protein, and that's what I thought when I first started. So slowly I started noticing that after about a month, maybe a month and a half, I did not crave meat at all. Meat was like, actually, I wanted to eat meat because I thought I needed it, but actually my cravings for it were going away like completely. I was like, man, I really feel like I should eat some meat today, but it just doesn't even sound that good. And raw meat didn't disgust me or anything. I was actually pretty happy eating raw meat for a while, but I completely lost any type of craving for it, and I was like, I feel like I don't need it. I feel like my body would thrive better by eating more fruits and vegetables. So, and I did more studying up and finding out that meat is actually terrible for you. And yeah, totally not what our body is meant to eat. So I quit eating meat, and I was raw vegan for about the next 2 months, and then I started discovering fruitarianism. And the first time I heard about fruitarianism, I kind of heard about it here and there, and I thought, okay, people that eat just fruit, that's a little crazy. There's no way that can be healthy. And then my first, kind of visualization of a raw fruitarian, I was watching this guy on YouTube showing what he eats in a day. He's actually a pretty popular YouTuber. He's actually one of my favorites now. Him and his brother kind of travel the world eating fruits. Their channel is Sweet Natural Living. But anyways, I watched this guy talk about how he's a fruitarian, and just eats fruit, and I was like, oh my goodness, there's no way that that can be healthy. I mean, how is he getting his other nutrients? Fruit that's too much sugar, too much fruit. There's no way that you could sustain yourself on just fruit. And I just started doing more research, and I found out that, yeah, actually fruit has everything you could possibly need. Everything. Everything your body needs to thrive on is in fruit, in perfect proportions for your body. It is the most biologically fit food for humans. It has everything. It has the water content, the nutrient ratios for our bodies, and you don't really need anything else. You really don't need anything else. And it's actually the probably healthiest diet you could ever live on is just fruit. And it sounds crazy, but study up, and even after you study, it's still something that you may be skeptical on until you actually feel it. Because once you've been on the diet for months, man, you will discover things you never thought possible. Your body will feel better than it's ever felt before. It's so crazy. I've never felt better in my life than when I'm just eating fruit. Like, I'm super in line with life spiritually through fruit. It's crazy. It totally ups your spirituality, just by eating it. Like, super clear thoughts all the time. It's crazy. It's actually probably the fastest way for, I'd say, a newbie at spirituality and enlightenment to reach a higher state of spirituality by eating raw foods, because it's like it just automatically makes you more spiritual and aware. It's super crazy. Not only that, but it just, you feel so good physically. It feels so good. You feel so clean. Like, you can feel you can totally feel like every part of your body. It's something that most people have never experienced, and I hope that everyone gets to experience it at some point in their life, where they're just eating fruit and getting to feel the benefits that it has on their body, because you've never felt this way before. You've never felt the way you will feel if you eat nothing but fruit. It's like, it's hard to describe, because it's just something that you have to experience for yourself. I mean, it's the most satisfying thing in the world, as far as, the physical world goes. It's going to make you perfectly healthy and super in line with the flow of life. And it's awesome. So I definitely want you guys to do some research and learn more about this. Do some reading. I can definitely recommend a few books. 80-10-10 Diet is kind of like the Bible for raw foodists. It's amazing. And the first book that I picked up was, I think it was called 12 Steps to Raw Food, something like that. That was the first one, and that was the book that caused me to go raw, like, overnight. And one of my favorites is Heal Yourself 101 by Marcus Rothkranz. He was one of my favorites when I first started getting into raw food, and actually you should check him out. Look him up on YouTube and check out his website, Marcus Rothkranz. He's just super motivating. I mean, what he says just makes so much sense. And there's a ton of people that you can look up on YouTube and get books from, but he was one of my favorites when I first got started. So check him out, and I'm going to be coming out with more videos about raw food and nutrition, so stay tuned for that. And I guess that's all I'm going to talk about in this video. So thank you guys for watching, and have a super awesome day.